Very good morning to all students. Hope you all be fine. Happy rainy day. Now, yesterday we have discussed the methods for collection of primary data, which are the direct inquiry, indirect inquiry, and last the method of questionnaire. Now, the method of questionnaire is to be taken today in detail because there is so much things and repeating about direct and indirect inquiry. So, what is the basic difference between direct and indirect inquiry is that the direct inquiry is done by personally visiting the person and indirect inquiry is done by not visiting the person but collecting the data indirectly from their representative or some other persons. Their advantages and disadvantages have also been seen. Now we are moving towards the topic of method of questionnaire, which is given on page number 6. Okay, friends, on page number 6 you may look at method of questionnaire. Now, first of all, again I will repeat like yesterday, then what is actually a questionnaire? Questionnaire means a set of questions which are given in a form and which is to be filled up. Now, mostly the questions are short and simple, or they are objective questions, not subjective to write, but sometimes it is possible that questions are needed to be written also. Okay, now we are looking in detail for it. Sixth one. A list of logically arranged questions relevant to the subject of the study is made. The space between the questions is provided for the answers. A list of questions prepared in such a way is known as a questionnaire. You may underline this much. What is a questionnaire? A set of questions arranged like this is known as a questionnaire. This method of obtaining information using such type of questionnaire is called method of questionnaire. The questions in the questionnaire should be short and simple so that the respondent can understand the questions and easily answer them. Yes, it is also an important thing. The questions are to be simple and so that the person who is answering can answer it easily without any mistake. This method is quite useful when the field of area or from which the information is to be collected is very wide. Okay, we know in indirect inquiry also we can go for a wide area, but it takes time, but questionnaire takes lesser time for it. Since there is considerable saving of time and cost in this method, it is most economical method of inquiry. Economical means according to our budget. Suppose our budget is of 100 rupees, then it will be around 110 or 120. So it is within the budget. Suppose if our budget is 100 rupees and the cost is coming of 200 rupees, then it is not economical. Economical means jisko parvade waisa. Now nearly amount is okay, 110 or 120. But the amount which is very big, it is not economical. Yes. Questionnaire may be used in direct inquiry as well as indirect inquiry. For both type of inquiries, this questionnaire is useful. There are two ways of collecting information by questionnaire. Again, there are two methods for questionnaire. How the questionnaire will be there? By post or by enumerators. Questionnaire is a list of questions which is given to the persons through whom the information is collected. But to collect the information from that two persons, again there are two subtypes, that is by post or by enumerators. Now in a short we will discuss what is this thing. Whenever the questionnaire is directly sent through post, means no agent is visiting the area personally, then that is a questionnaire by post. Or in the opposite way, if an agent also goes for collecting the information for questionnaire, then it is through enumerators, because one enumerator or one agent or one person is also joining for solving the doubts and everything. Yes. Now we have very important topic on page number 6, characteristics of an ideal questionnaire. Characteristics of an ideal questionnaire. Now friends, what do you mean by ideal? Ideal means proper, or ideal means something which is to the point. For example, if you have to give a speech on coronavirus, suppose today's current affairs the proper speech would be if you talk about corona itself. Now, if you talk about the government problems, then that is not ideal, because corona is different and government problems are different. Today we all are incurring so much of problems, maybe due to government or not due to government. So taking the government in between is not relevant, not to the point. So ideal means to the point. Okay. So here they are asking that what are the characteristics of an ideal questionnaire, how an questionnaire should be so that it would look proper. So again, I will give short points, hints, which you can write. Okay, there are how much points? There are total 8 points. And we will discuss and we will take out hints from it. Okay, whenever you are having questions in such a way, now in 11th standard, from 11th standard you will be having answers to the point. So always make these types of hint so that in exam you remember only hint, sentence will be of yours, but that is also important that the sentence should be little bit proper. Okay, I am reading. The success of collecting data depends mainly on design of questionnaire. A well designed known as questionnaire. You may underline that. What is an ideal questionnaire? A well-designed questionnaire is called an ideal questionnaire. The following points should be kept in mind while drafting an ideal questionnaire. Which are the points should be kept in mind for an ideal questionnaire? Number 1. Every questionnaire must have a covering letter or an appropriate title so that the reader gets clear idea about the purpose of the study. Title or heading. This is very important thing. Suppose if you are writing about any topic, then the main thing is about the title. If your title is attractive, if your title is very relevant, then people will think that yes, this is okay and we will take interest in it. But if you suppose that there is no title and simply a form of question is given to you, not interesting. While taking admission, now the admissions are most of online, but when we are going for an admission, then also the name of institution, from where, address and everything is mentioned. So that is the title. Then again the title is given admission form. So here also there should be a proper title, otherwise the questionnaire will not look ideal. Number 2. Number of questions should be minimum as possible. The fewer number of questions have greater chance of getting better response from the respondent. Long questions discourage the respondent to provide accurate answers, particularly toward the end of questionnaire. There is no specific rules for exact number of questions. If the number of questions is very large, say 25 or more, it is advisable to divide the questionnaire into various parts to ensure clarity of the questions. Number of questions. Now friends, they are talking about a human psychology, means a human talking or human behavior, that it is a but natural thing that if in exam also you have so much of questions to answer, then you will be little bit tensed. But if you are having only a limited number of questions, then you are not tensed. They are giving an example of 25 questions. If the questions are more than 25, this is not an exact rule, but according to the human mind, they are telling that if the questions are more than 25, you have to ask more questions. Then what you do? You divide the question according to the subtitle. What I said, a title should be given, and you have limited number of questions, then no subtitle is needed. But if you are having so much question, friends, then you also subtitle, subheadings, divide different types of questions such as personal questions, professional questions, then occupation questions, what you are doing, occupation and all. So number of questions also matters for questionnaire. Number 3, the number of questions in questionnaire should be consistent with the purpose of study, with the purpose of inquiry. Consistent, which means to the point. as I said now also. Number of questions is also important. Also sometimes we have seen in direct and indirect inquiry supplementary questions. Supplementary means not to the point. Means the questions which are required but they are not given in the questionnaire. So that supplementary questions are also should be limited and to the point. There should not be so much number of questions which is not related with the topic. Okay. Next. Questions should be simple, short and understandable. They should not be ambiguous means confusing and in dual meaning. For example, if the question is are you educated, the respondent cannot understand the meaning of educated. Does it mean education up to higher or secondary or graduate? Instead the question should be what is your educational level. Following 5 options can be considered: up to primary, up to secondary, up to higher secondary, graduate, uneducated. Type of questions. It is also an important thing. Ambiguous and dual standard means those who are having double meaning. Now very good thing is given in our book that the question is are you educated. Now friends, the person who is responding this thing will get confused. Now he will get confused that he has learned till 10th standard and then he has not learned anything. Now the thing is that he may get confused that what level of education we are asking. So in the book what they are recommending, instead of asking are you educated, you should give what is the level of your education and you should give some options so that they can write, they can tick mark any of one option. Okay. So form of a type of questions. Number 5. Arrangement of questions should be logical. Arrangement means which can come first, which can come next. Again an example is given. The order of question should be general to specific. For example, what is your opinion about smartphone? Do you use smartphone? See, both these questions are not related. First you are asking their opinion and then you are asking do you are using or not. Instead what they are writing now? The correct order is B and A. First you should ask you are using mobile phone and then you should ask what is your view. Okay. Arrangement of questions. Yes. Next. Questions of sensitive nature or personal life should be avoided. Some personal questions about the income and that thing should be avoided at once. For example, questions related to marital status, other sources of income, respondent, etc. If such questions are necessary in survey, an assurance should be given to the respondent that information provided by him or her will be kept confidential. Confidential means safe and will not be used for any other purpose. Personal or sensitive questions means sometimes it is important to ask this question and sometimes if it is not important you should not ask. So sometimes it is important, then what they are telling in the book you should assure them by writing in the bracket. See why we are writing in the bracket, sometimes in exam also their questions are with the brackets so that you are getting more explanation about the question. And here also you should write in bracket that if the personal questions or sensitive questions are being asked, then that data will be kept confidentially and will not be given to you. Number 7. Answers to the question should be free from calculations. For example, avoid the questions like what is the average income of earning members in your family. Free from calculations. The questions are such which does not require any calculation. Why? Because it is not important that everyone knows calculation by their hands and their mind. Some people need calculators or some people need rough work. So why to ask such a type of question? Instead what you do? You don't ask these types of calculations. So questions must be free from calculations. And the last. The answers having yes or no or multiple alternatives should be asked. As I said, MCQ questions should be asked. but the questions whose answers does not have specific options should be avoided. For example, what is your opinion about semester system against yearly system in education? Since there is lot of variations in the answers like strongly in favor, neutral, against, strongly against, they are difficult to tabulate or interpret. Hence, it is necessary that the minimum number of questions in the questionnaire. Let us see an example. Okay, they are giving an example, and what is the hint? Objective questions. Objective means MCQ. You should ask only questions which have different types of options. You should not ask subjective questions that write 2 sentences about what you think. People cannot write that thing. So you should always prefer the questions which are MCQ and example of questionnaire is given. Okay? Yes. So this was about characteristics of an ideal question. This is very important question, friends. You may note down all these points and write with the pencil in the textbook itself, nowhere else. And also I may say that this question will be asked in exam for 4 marks or 6 marks. If they are asking for 4 marks, then 4 points are enough, and 6 marks, then 6 points are also enough. But the points should be very proper. And if sometimes they are asking 3 marks, then write 3 points. Okay? Yes. Now next. Okay. Now questionnaire by post and questionnaire by enumerator. The advantages and disadvantages we will see. I have already explained that what is by post and what is by enumerators. Simply questions we will make. Now there are 2 types, that we are personally visiting the person including the agent, then it is questionnaire by enumerators. And if we are just sending the post, we are not going anywhere, we are just sending the questions through the post and asking them to reply also through post, then that is questionnaire by post. Now we will see both advantages and disadvantages. Okay, on page number 8 you can see advantages of questionnaire by post. This method of collecting data is quite useful when the field of investigation is very vast. When the field of inquiry is very vast, you can use questionnaire by post. This method is simple and it provides large amount of information with less expense. By less expense, you just need to post your letters and you will get the reply by letters also. So there are no requirement of agents. By this method, investigator can get information from respondents of those areas where it might be difficult to reach personally or by telephone. Where our agents or enumerators cannot go personally because the area is very large, this method becomes very useful. Now what are the disadvantages? When the respondents are illiterate or non-cooperative, this method becomes useless. It is very simple thing that people are illiterate, they don't know to read and write, or they know to read and write but still they are ignorant, they ignore this thing, then we cannot do anything. Sometimes the information provided by the respondents may be not correct, or they may return incomplete or blank questionnaire to the investigator. This is also very important. Some people are literate but somewhat. For some questions they have so much doubts, so they leave that question, as we are also doing. We leave some questions in the exams, then we get less marks, but the thing here is that you cannot get complete information from them. There may be loss of questionnaire or delay in getting the information because of laziness of the respondent. This is a main problem of our society, laziness. When we have to do some work, then we are thinking that yes, we will do. But due to our laziness or maybe any reason, we are ignoring that thing, and that thing will become a disadvantage to others. There is a lack of assistance or a person who clarifies the instruction or gives explanation on the question that may arise. Hence, there is a possibility of misinterpretation of question. Misinterpretation means they will understand different meaning of the question. They are not understanding the exact meaning, and for that we need our agents, and agents are not going there. So again, this is an advantage. So what conclusion we may take from this method? That if you want to use questionnaire by post, then only use at that time when your respondents are educated persons and they are persons who are willing to give information. Suppose if you are sending it into an area where there is no education, or people don't know to read and write, or people are not cooperative, then you cannot get the information through post, you have to personally visit that area. So sometimes this method is good and sometimes other method is also good. Now questionnaire by enumerator. The complete advantages I am reading. The complete, correct and more relevant information can be obtained from the respondents by selecting proper enumerators. If you are having a proper trained enumerators or agents, then you can get a good information from them. Enumerator can get proper information by giving proper explanations to the respondents who are illiterate and non-competent. See, which are disadvantages of that post are advantages of this enumerator, because their enumerator was not available. Here he is available so that he can give a clear explanations of the questions. In this method, there is no problem of loss of questionnaire or incomplete answers. This is very good thing. If you are visiting personally, then that thing will not get lost. Okay. This method, the information obtained is more reliable. Reliable means you can trust these things. Disadvantages. Sometimes it is quite difficult to get expert enumerators in sufficient manner. You need enumerators, you are getting the enumerators, but they are also of not trained purpose. So you are getting these enumerators in a limited way, so again it becomes disadvantage. Due to large number of enumerators, the remuneration means salary paid to enumerators increases the total cost. Again, this is increasing the cost of our inquiry. It is very difficult task to train the untrained enumerators for the inquiry. Even after training, it is not proper to believe that they will do their work skillfully, honestly or efficiently. And sometimes the information collected by them may not be reliable. The persons to whom you have appointed are illiterate. They don't know how to deal with the persons, and sometimes they may get incorrect information also. So first, the thing is that you may give proper training to them. Okay. This method becomes unsuitable when the respondents are spread over a wide area. In these circumstances, the cost and time inquiry increases. As we have seen before, if the area is very wide, you cannot send your enumerators in a personal way to each house. Enumerators have to adjust with the convenient time of respondents, or sometimes enumerators have to visit 2 or 3 times to the same respondent. As a result, it becomes difficult to finish the inquiry within the stipulated time. Yes, they are telling very good. Suppose if we are sending our enumerators to the house, people of that house are not available due to XYZ reasons. Now, if the people are not available, the information is not possible. So what that people will inquire that second time we will visit, third time we will visit, but still we are not getting in contact because they may be working outside or they have any of the reasons. Now this will become a great disadvantage for enumerators, that you have to visit frequently and your time and money and everything will be wasted for that people. Now what they are giving as a conclusion, among these 3 methods of collecting primary data, 3 methods means direct inquiry, indirect, which method is to be used, they are telling. There is no definite rule for this method. The selection may be depend on the following aspects, following points. Which method is to be used, we will require these points. Spread of area under inquiry. How much area do we have? Purpose of inquiry. What is your purpose? What is your goal? What is your objective? Monetary provision means your budget. How much money you can spend? The time frame means how much time can you bear this and how much time can you collect the information. Possibility of getting expert enumerators. How much enumerators or how much enumerators or agents you can get which are expert. And the standard of accuracy. Accuracy means how much reliable information do you want. So looking at all these things, we have to collect the primary data in such a way. Okay. Now the last topic of the chapter, that is secondary data, and after that we are completing this chapter. Okay. Sources of secondary data. Now we know what is secondary data. The data which is collected by others and used by us is known as secondary data. Now from where you can get this secondary data? Friends, there is so much things are given here from different things, from different governments or different private properties. We can get this data. How we can get? We are seeing now. Okay. So secondary data are published sources from where? From government publications. Now in that many full forms are given. We are seeing there are number of central and state government organizations which collect statistical data and publish their findings in the interest of the public. Some government publishers provide data on periodical or regular basis, means in magazines. For example, Central Statistical Organization, underline that full form CSO, Central Statistical Organization, National Sample Survey Organization, NSSO, we have already underlined it again. Office of Registrar General and Census Commissioner of India, Indian Council of Agricultural Research, ICAR also underlined, Statistical Abstract of Gujarat State, Statistical Outline, Gujarat State, Socio-Economic Review, Gujarat State, etc. So all these are government publications from where you can acquire the data from the published data of government bodies. Information about wholesale price numbers, import-export, vital statistics, agriculture statistics, results of population census can be obtained. Means information from these sources obtained, and all these are governments. Now semi-government. Semi-government means somewhat percentage they are following the government rules and somewhat they are following the private rules, like our PGVCL. Semi-government organizations such as Life Insurance Corporation, State Electricity Board, as I said, PGVCL, Paschim Gujarat, then etc. regularly publish various types of data. Means you have just to remember the names from where you can get secondary data. You can only remember these points. See, points are given with bold letters: government publication, semi-government publication, international. In exam, if this question is asked, you don't have to explain the things which is given in the paragraph. You just have to remember the names. So friends, do one thing. Everyone underline all these bold things. How much points are given? I think 7 points are given. Underline that bold things. Okay. Then international publication. Why I am reading this? Because there are so much full forms in this. International publications. International organizations like United Nations Organization, underline UNO. Then International Monetary Fund, underline IMF. International Labour Organization, ILO, publish their important data. Okay, again you have to just underline the full forms that are given. Then again in fourth one also, report of research organizations, the organizations which are meant for research work. Research institutes like Ahmedabad Textile Industries Research Association, ATIRA. Physical Research Laboratory, PRL, Ahmedabad Salt and Marine Research Laboratory, Bhavnagar Institute Economic Growth, Delhi. Then National Council of Economic Applied Research, New Delhi, provide their data in their publication. Again, remember only the heading, its bold letters, nothing else, and also their full forms for small answers. Okay. Local self-government institutions and autonomous education institutions, municipal corporations, Jilla Panchayats, agriculture universities publish their annual reports. Okay, so in point number 5 there is nothing to underline. Okay. Then publications of business and commerce organizations. So see, here there are 7 points, but there are only 6 headings. 5th point does not have any heading, so you have to remember only 6 headings itself and the full forms which are coming in the exam. If the question is such sources of secondary data, then only write the headings, these 6 headings, because in 5th point no heading is mentioned. Why I am reading this again? I will say I am just reading the full forms. Okay, publications of business and commerce organization. Business and commerce subject you are studying now, OCM. That organization are giving the secondary data. Federation of Indian Chambers and Commerce and Industry publish the journal Economic Trends. Institute of Chartered Accountants publishes the Chartered Accountant, and Institute of Foreign Trade publishes General Foreign Trade Review. Again, nothing is important here. Again, in 7th point, data regarding economics, commerce, business, sports, etc. can be collected from different newspapers and periodicals like Economic and Political Weekly. Again, underline EPW, Commerce, Business Today, Financial Express. These are also important sources of secondary data. Now, secondary data from unpublished. All these 7 headings, means headings are only 6 but 7 points, these are published publicly, means in magazines or in anywhere on internet or anything. Now this information is unpublished, means if you ask then only you can get, otherwise you cannot get it. Some of the statistical data may not be published. Sometimes the data may be drawn on request from unpublished internal records of private and public organizations which are prepared for their reference. For example, salary of employees, length of service, educational level, data regarding investment of mutual funds in public and private sector companies, and all these things are not important for you. But what you need to understand, secondary data from published resources, there are 7 headings but 6 names to remember. From unpublished means what you need to write, secondary data from unpublished resources, these are such data which we can get only through asking. Means if you are asking for the data, they only at that time they will give, otherwise they are not publishing on internet or magazines or newspapers. Okay? And the last thing, equations while taking secondary data. Okay, this is also an important question. We can give again hints for it, like ideal questionnaire. This is the last topic and today we are completing the chapter. And see friends, what I said, after the completion of the chapter I will say which all things are to be written in the notebook. Then after completing this session, today till afternoon I will say what are the topics should be written in the notebook. And you can submit it today or tomorrow or within 2 days. Okay? And tomorrow again we are taking second chapter in statistics itself. Okay? So if possible, complete today itself. Okay, now equations means care while using secondary data. As we know, secondary data is collected by others and used by others. If we want, we can use. If you want, you can use. You want, you can use. Now, what care must be taken while using this data? Primary data is collected by ourselves, not by others. So it is our own data, so we don't need to take any care. But secondary data is collected by some other people, so we need to take some care for using. How much points? 6 points. Again, for 2 or 3 marks, this question can be asked. So if it is being asked, you may write the hints in your textbook with the pencil. Okay. So in the paragraph, a careful scrutiny must be done before using. Scrutiny means to check before using secondary data. The reason is that such data may be erroneous. Erroneous means with errors of inadequate sample size or may be not suitable while with the purpose of inquiry. Such secondary data may not be useful for statistical analysis, drawing conclusions and inferences from the analysis. Therefore, before using such data, the following precautions must be taken. Okay, which are they? Number 1. Before using secondary data, it should be verified as to who has collected the data and from where the data is collected. The data obtained from the records of private organizations may be less reliable as private organizations collect data according to their own ideology and prejudices. Okay. Data to be verified. Why we need to verify this data is not wrong, but this data is according to their ideology, what they are thinking, not what we are thinking. So care must be taken that how this data is being collected and who has collected the data for what. Okay. Then next, purpose of collecting data must be relevant to the purpose of study, otherwise the data will be not used. Also, what you should check, purpose of data. So this purpose is very important. Our purpose is something and their purpose is different from us, and if we are using their data, then it is not proper, friends. Our purpose is different to them, then we cannot use that data. Data collected must not be too old. It should be relevant with the current period. For example, price of grains, gold, petrol. Latest data because at what time they have collected. The data should be latest. We should not use old information. Before using secondary data, the methods regarding scope of data, region for which the data are collected, and the definition of the terms used in be ascertained. Scope of the data. Or we can say objective. What was their objective or what was their scope for collecting the data should match with us. If it is not matching again like purpose, then again it will be a limitation and that information will be wrong to us. Direct use of estimate data should be avoided. The estimates given in data may be wrongly calculated. Direct use to be avoided. Directly we should not use that data. First we should calculate the things, we should check the things that they are correctly calculated, and then we should use it. And the last, the method of collection of data should be known so that investigator becomes familiar with its advantages and disadvantages. To get proper benefits of secondary data, it should be used with above precautions. So these are the 6 precautions which are to be needed. Data first is to be verified, its purpose should be known, the data should be latest, the data or object, the scope or objective of the data to us and to them should be verified. We should avoid its direct use, and we should also check from which method they are calculating. As we know, for calculating mean, median, mode, there are so much of methods. So we should also check that what method they have used for collecting their data, and then we should use it. Okay, now this is the end of the chapter. Now today till afternoon I will send what all the things you are to be required to be write in the notebook. And tomorrow again we are going for the second chapter of statistics itself. So be ready. Thank you.